Precisely 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Sharifa Tahir. Headlines. Prime Minister says the constitutional changes will bring new committee systems to strengthen parliamentary democracy. Prime Minister says new committee systems to strengthen Parliament's financial powers. Askeri Chapter Anunayaka Thera says the executive presidency should not be abolished. Police arrest more suspects for illegally storing and selling fuel. US assures Sri Lanka continued support during difficult time. Sapukaskanda oil refinery plant to resume operations today. News overseas. Uvalde, US to review police response to Texas school shooting. In sports, IPL 2022, Gujarat Titans beat Rajasthan Royals to win title in first tournament. We move on to local news in detail now. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says a new committee system will be introduced to strengthen the Parliament's financial powers, and a national committee will be established to make the President and Prime Minister answerable to the Parliament. He stated this while delivering a special statement on the 21st Amendment to the Constitution and proposed political reforms. The Prime Minister said that the country's main issues today are not limited to the financial sector. He said that at the same time in the political sphere there are two major issues, with one being the need to do away with the 20th Amendment and the implementation of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution once again. With regard to that now, we as the party leaders are currently preparing the 21st Amendment, he said. The second is to work towards abolishing the executive presidency, he said, adding that the party leaders can decide on that time period and the method. In addition to this, there's another issue with regard to the Parliament, the Premier said. He stated that because the Parliament was weakened by the 20th Amendment to the Constitution and because the executive obtained more powers, the process of the Parliament has been crippled. One of the main accusations today is that the Parliament is not working to end this economic crisis. The powers vested with the Parliament will increase through the 21st Amendment to the Constitution. However, we cannot be satisfied by that alone. He stated that there is also an allegation that under the current Westminster cabinet system, the cabinet ministers controlled everything, and due to the ruling party having a majority in the House, the affairs of Parliament was neglected. We don't always have to keep questioning what happened in the past. However, there needs to be a system to include the Parliament in the governance of this country, he said. At the same time, we need to have transparency. The MPs of all parties need to convene those committees and work according to the policies and programs, that is, the environment we are creating. He stated that the existing laws need to be strengthened if Parliament is to be given powers to execute financial powers. He also said that they are preparing to pass a set of new financial regulations after taking a look at the existing laws. Wickremesinghe stated that 3 committees related to the state's financial affairs and that the leader of the House, Dinesh Gunawardena, has presented several proposals to strengthen these committees and further empower them. He said that in addition to that, they are also putting forward a proposal to establish 2 more finance-related committees, which include a committee on ways and means and a committee on banking and financial services. He stated that these 5 finance committees and 10 oversight committees will be chaired by backbencher MPs and not ministers. He said that they also need to pay attention to a crucial point. What the youth are saying is that the existing systems needs to be changed and they need to be aware of the current issues. Therefore, he proposes that 4 youth representatives are appointed each of these 15 committees, with one of them from the Youth Parliament, while the other 3 selected from the protesting groups and youth groups as decided by them. He said in addition to this, they also expect to get specialists with expert knowledge involved in this, and that this will provide the youth with an opportunity to become aware of the issues and to present their solutions. The Prime Minister also proposed to establish a national council comprised of the Speaker, the Prime Minister, the opposition leader, and the leaders of the major parties. The Ministry of Power and Energy says that $100 million have been spent on fuel to produce electricity monthly. This is a burden to the country. Taking this into consideration, the government plans to implement a special power generation program using renewable energy sources from next month to reduce the fuel consumption. Accordingly, solar panels will be installed in government institutions to reduce the power consumption from the national grid. This will reduce the expenditure of the fuel on power generation and thereby reduce the unit cost on electricity, and this will further reduce the cost burden on the consumers. This rapid program will be implemented from next month. An intellectual group has been appointed to obtain views and suggestions on revamping the transport system of the country with the sole purpose of reducing the fuel consumption. The group, headed by Professor Amal Gunaratna of Moratuwa University, had a workshop in Colombo to discuss this matter in detail. The final report with useful suggestions has been handed over to the Minister Bandula Gunawardena. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation giving you the news. We continue with more stories here at home. Sri Lanka police says that another 37 persons have been arrested for illegally storing fuel for the purpose of selling at a higher price. The suspects were arrested in 38 raids carried out within yesterday, police spokesman SSP Nihal Talduwa said. A police spokesman said that 814 litres and 800 millilitres of petrol and 4,328 litres and 500 millilitres of diesel in total were seized from the suspects. He stated that about 450 vehicles had received fuel twice or more between 12 p.m. last night and 2 p.m. today. And that's yesterday. And he further stated that an investigation is being carried out regarding those vehicles. An application introduced by the police headquarters has been installed at more than 1,400 petrol stations, and 2,800 vehicles have been observed refueling twice or more a day, the police spokesman said. Minister of Foreign Affairs Professor G.L. Pires has met with U.S. Ambassador Julie Chang and held wide-ranging discussions on bilateral relations, current domestic developments and assistance from the international community in mitigating the challenges facing the country. The foreign minister stated that the government is focused on exploring all possible avenues in the provision of short and long-term solutions in the alleviating difficulties encountered by the people and in the implementation of a clear plan of action. In this context, Foreign Minister Professor Pires indicated that Sri Lanka is deeply appreciative of the goodwill and assistance being received from the international community, including from multilateral organizations. The Foreign Minister encouraged continued support from the U.S. and other countries, both bilaterally and through multilateral channels, to mitigate the economic challenges in Sri Lanka, the statement said. Foreign Minister Pires also praised the U.S. ambassador of the efforts being taken by the government to promote and maintain the rule of law and order in the country while respecting the rights of all to freedom of expression and assembly. The Chief Anunayaka, Most Venerable Anamaduwe Dhammadesithera, said the proposed constitutional reforms should address the economic issues and provide relief to the common masses. The Thera made these remarks when Justice Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa made a courtesy visit to Askiri Temple last morning. The minister also received blessings of the Thera at this occasion. The Anunayaka Thera emphasized that the executive presidency should not be abolished. That's local news for the moment.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Ministry of Power and Energy says that around $100 million have been spent on fuel to produce electricity monthly. This is a burden to the country, and taking this into consideration, the government plans to implement a special power generation program using renewable energy sources from next month to reduce the fuel consumption.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
This is Watchlight.
Health sector points out that unnecessary gatherings should be minimized during these days. Director of the Colombo Lady Ridgeway Hospital, Dr. S. Vijay Surya, said that if the people follow health guidelines further, a risk of recreation of another corona wave can be prevented. He requests the public to adhere to health guidelines strictly during these days. The government plans to administer the fourth dose. In the first phase, the government plans to implement the fourth dose of vaccination to the 60 and above age group. Moving on to World News.
Coming up, World News.
Headlines: Uvalde, U.S. to review police response to Texas school shooting. Ukraine war, Russia says liberation of Donbas its key priority. Jerusalem flag march, Israeli nationalists stream through Muslim quarter. World News in detail. The U.S. Justice Department will investigate the police response to the mass shooting at a school in Uvalde, Texas, which killed 19 children and 2 teachers. Public anger is growing after it emerged that officers waited in the hallway as children trapped with the shooter made desperate 911 calls. U.S. President Joe Biden is in Uvalde to meet families devastated by the attack. He will also meet survivors and first responders. The liberation of eastern Ukraine's Donbas region is an unconditional priority for Russia, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in an interview. Defending Russia's ongoing military operation more than 3 months after it invaded, he said again it was aimed at demilitarizing its neighbor. He repeated the Kremlin's widely ridiculed line that Russia is fighting a neo-Nazi regime. Finally, on World News, thousands of flag-waving Israelis have marched through Muslim areas of East Jerusalem's Old City in an event seen as highly provocative by Palestinians. The Palestinian presidency said Israel was playing with fire. It comes at a time of particularly high tensions following months of deadly incidents. The march celebrates Israel's capture of East Jerusalem in the 1967 war. That's World News. Moving on to development news. ASMET, the Association for Small and Medium Enterprises and Tourism, congratulates Harim Fernando on his appointment as a Minister of Tourism and expressed their good wishes for him. ASMET also urged the passing of the new Tourism Act as a matter of priority to salvage the ailing tourism industry of the country. The statement says, "We believe Sri Lanka tourism has an important role in developing the country's economy, and under your guidance, we hope to be able to recover from the devastating impact the country is facing today." And they would also like to draw attention to the following for the betterment of the tourism industry and SMEs involved in the industry. As a matter of urgency, the proposed Tourism Act should be passed in Parliament to promote the development of the tourism industry and industry's SMEs. That's development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank, we present your future.
And on cricket stories, Hardik Pandya produced a magnificent all-round display as Gujarat Titans won the Indian Premier League in their first season with a 7-wicket victory over Rajasthan Royals. Titans captain Pandya took 3 for 17, including the prize scalp of England's Joss Butler for 39 to restrict Royals to 130 for 9 and then hit 34 from 30 balls. Shubman Gill top-scored with 45 not out, and the Indian batter hit the first ball of the 18th over for 6 to win the match in front of a record crowd of almost 105,000 people in Ahmedabad. Scores: Rajasthan Royals batted first and made 130 for 9, Butler made 39 and Hardik Pandya took 3 wickets for mere 17 runs. In reply, Gujarat Titans reached the victory target, losing only 3 wickets with 11 balls to spare. They made 13 for 3. That's sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB You Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The diversified blue chip Edkins Spence PLC reported a profit before tax of 14.2 billion rupees for the 12 months ended March 31st, 2022 compared to the loss reported before tax of 2.8 billion rupees last year. This phenomenal performance was driven by the group's diverse presence in 8 countries spanning 16 segments of operation.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10-second prize winners. iPhones for the 10th third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29th fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSP You Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
And on economic news, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that the government will extend its full support to carry out the central bank and the monetary board functions independently sans any political influence. President Rajapaksa gave this assurance last Saturday when he had a meeting with CBSL Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe and monetary board member Sanjeeva Jayawardena PC at the President's house in Colombo Fort. The President said at a meeting that he was ready to intervene as the heads of state whenever necessary for the success of the ongoing discussions. The President also lauded the prudent actions taken by Governor Dr. Veerasinghe to control and alleviate the financial crisis within a short period.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
The Weather Report.
The Met Department says prevailing showery and windy condition over the island is expected to slightly enhance during today and the next few days. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in western Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Mathura districts. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters may occur at some places in western and Sabaragamu provinces and in Nuwara, Puttalam, Galle and Mathura districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the Anuradhapura district. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in Uva province and in the Ampara and Batikla districts during the evening or night. This weather report was published this morning at 5:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that the day's weather will be bright with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature would be around 32 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 27 Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 25 Celsius at the time of this news broadcast and the air quality index is 17, which shows excellent air condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. That's the weather update. Back to the headlines. Before we wind up this bulletin of news, Prime Minister says the constitutional changes will bring new committee systems to strengthen parliamentary democracy. Prime Minister says new committee member systems to strengthen Parliament's financial powers. Askari chapter Anunayaka Thera says the executive presidency should not be abolished. Police arrest more suspects for illegally storing and selling fuel. US assures Sri Lanka continued support during difficult time. Sapugaskand oil refinery plan to resume operations today. News overseas, Uvalde, US to review police response to Texas school shooting. In sports, IPL 2022, Gujarat Titans beat Rajasthan Royals to win title in first tournament. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news. You're listening to Radio Sri Lanka. It's 5 minutes past the hour of 7.